Wolfenstein Youngblood is a spin-off, not a sequel, and that explains why the game is so tonally different to the preceding Wolfenstein games we've seen so far. In fact, this time around it's a co-op shooter and you will play as one of BJ Blazkowicz's twin daughters. He's the protagonist from the first two games, in case you forgot. That said, it's still a game where you run around killing Nazis, although there's some major differences to the game this time around. Now, the whole game is based in Nazi-occupied 1980s Paris, which is a bit of a mouthful, but then if you understand the story from the last two games, it kind of makes sense. The twins' father has gone missing, and it's up to them to find him and presumably rescue him from all the Nazis. One major change is the ability to choose the order in which you tackle missions. Now, as a co-op shooter, that means the game design has to adapt to adjust to this. It means that, say, if one of you goes for a stealth-led build when it comes to your skills and your weapons, and say the other person goes as a tank with plenty of health and plenty of big guns, the game still needs to make sure you can complete it without any problems. And Youngblood, which launches in July, is coming at a time when several games are offering new co-op modes, whether it's Gears 5 or even Rainbow Six. But for the team behind Youngblood, it was the challenge of doing something new. Machine Games' York Gustafsson explains more.
It's definitely a spin-off in terms of the storytelling, and of course it's also a continuation of the storyline. So we do have this storyline that we are working out of ever since the New Order, so we have tried to stick very true to the lore and stay very true to the lore, but the Youngblood story is very much a spin-off of that story, yes. This is a big change for us in many ways, and of course it's the co-op aspect. We have never done that before in any of our games, even since the Starbreeze days with Riddick and Darkness as well. It's always been this single-player, very story-driven experiences. And at the same time, we have also only been doing these male heroes and anti-heroes throughout the years as well. So it's very big, the change for us in terms of both the co-op, but also from the protagonist perspective.
I may have an assignment suitable for two Nazi killers such as yourselves.
Stewardesses.
It has also forced us to think a lot more in a non-linear way, both when it comes to the narrative and also the gameplay, of course, to support two characters and also two players. It has been a very exciting idea to just add another player in there and to see where that leads us. And I'm very happy we tried that out because it is super fun to play together. First, we are bringing Nazi killing into virtual reality with Wolfenstein Cyberpilot. But at the same time, we also try to broaden our portfolio and our experience with VR that we're doing together with the guys at Arcane as well. So it's more for us, I think, to explore new mediums and new ways of game development. And of course, very much also online is very much a place where we also want to go more in the future and be more in the future, because it is something that is very enjoyable and fun to play, and we of course also want our fans to be able to play online. What the co-op did we wanted to just provide a lot more opportunities for the players to customize not only the characters but of course also the weapons, to make sure that you can complement each other in many different ways when you perform combat and do combat. And that also, of course, the non-linear level is a part of that, right? So that you can choose, what approach you want to take. You can go to, can take different paths and different routes and come and approach a scenario from different angles, as an example. And if you want to do it stealth, or if you want to do it full-on combat as well. But of course, as we started, as we got the co-op in there, of course the game also changes and evolves, and we do, we have to take some different paths and change some things depending on how it worked out with co-op, because we didn't have the experience and we learned a lot of new things during that process.
Ain't nothing you can offer to make up for what you done to us. I think of my father, I see you. Fuck you, and a fist flying in my face.
The story of New Colossus, it was different because it was also a bit darker, because we wanted to tell that story of BJ's upbringing, right? But of course BJ and Anya, they raised their daughters with a lot of love instead. So there's a lot of difference there. So it automatically becomes a lot lighter in that sense as well.
Fuck yeah!
You guys are weird.
When it comes to the shift in tone and adding humor to the experience, that's something that we always try to get in there, even though it is a bit dark. And even though the theme in general is a bit dark.
How can't you just enjoy life for a second, Jess?
After the new Colossus and BJ and Anya, they settled down in Texas. They raised their daughters. They also, of course, prepare them for what might come. You know, as long as there are Nazis in the world, it's still BJ's feel that it is something that he needs to continue to fight. Right. The scene that you're talking about is taking that step, and crossing that threshold to actually perform that first kill. And of course, that's a very big step for them to take.
Just like Daddy told us.